For some reason, the big news today seems to be this.
It drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people, full of, you know, people that basically are anything
What's wrong
other
with that,
than
Sarah?
white.
The media thinks that it's bigger news than the industrial-scale rape of working-class white girls by Pakistani and Asian men.
I find it quite, overwhelming as well that every single one of these medias has said something about a comment that was made by Sarah, which is understandable, absolutely fine. Yet it's taken medias decades to recognise grooming gangs that are coming over and raping our children because they're white. That is also racially motivated, and it is racist.
Yes, well said. The media wouldn't stop asking about it at Reform's press conference about the rape gangs, and Labour and the Lib Dems were clearly all sent the same message from their headquarters to go big on it. If we look at them all here, you know, they're all posting about it on social media, more than they have done about the China spy scandal or the fact that an Ethiopian sex offender was released by mistake over the weekend. And it backfired for one Lib Dem councillor, though. Bless her. Does anybody actually notice the colour of people's skin on adverts? I don't. It never enters my head. I just see people. Well, hang on a minute. That's not true, is it? Because the same councillor tweeted this a couple of years ago when the Tories posted a picture of a load of people who happen to be white. Not only does this photo show a lack of diversity, it shows how ridiculous it is that anyone would think posting it is a good idea. Brilliant stuff. There's always a tweet. Obviously, it's fine when the Lib Dems do it, though. I think we can bring a picture up here of that. That's not racist. Nothing racist going on there. That is diverse enough for the Liberal Democrats. Ridiculous. Apparently, what Sarah Pochin said was racist. Now, Sarah Pochin made a clumsy point about the amount of ethnic minorities in adverts and that it paints an unrealistic representation of the ethnic makeup of Britain. Now, look, she obviously should have phrased it better, but the point I'm trying to make is how absurd all this pushback is. Are we not allowed to notice race, are we? Right, OK, so was this racist?
The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white.
Was this racist?
Every chief executive of every council and every government department, white. Every director of a department in Scotland, white.
So we're not allowed to notice racial demographics, are we? What about this?
From the rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that.
Well, it's OK to say that the royal family is too white, is it? Or what about this?
It has been the most extraordinary day. A day which has seen... I've never seen so many white people in one place. It's an extraordinary story.
It's OK to comment on the number of white faces at a Brexit rally, is it? I mean, the comment about an over-representation of ethnic minorities in adverts, by the way, is just true. Here are some of the stats. So, according to a report, 4% of the population are black and around 50% of TV adverts have black people in them. 9% of the population are South Asian. 17% of TV adverts have them in. 1% of the population are East Asian. 8% of TV adverts have someone of East Asian background. We have advertising campaigns for the military that seem to focus on just recruiting Muslims. Just the classic pause for the call to prayer mid-battle there. There also seems to be a fair few adverts that portray white men in a very negative light, like this one.
The man in the grey suit is staring at you. Would you report it? It's him again. You can feel his breath. Would you report it?
Well, apparently Kent County Council did an entire anti-sexual assault campaign where the aggressors were white boys and the victim was a black girl.
Want a bit of this? Why didn't you come over here? Oi, I'm talking to you.
You okay?
You alright, girl? Give us a smile.
I just want to get home.
Laugh, you moody cunt.
Hey, leave it out, mate. Sorry.
We also have theatre performances where Juliet from Romeo and Juliet is black. Now, look, hey, fair enough. I am sure that she's a brilliant actress. But then we've got historical dramas with increased diversity. Like, we had a black Anne Boleyn, for example, and also a bloke who used to cast guests for BBC documentaries has blown the lid off this as well. So he now came out, felt compelled to say that he was told to turn down white people in order to cast a certain amount of ethnic minority guests. And it's not just the racial stuff, is it? The same goes for adverts and TV programmes involving gay or trans people. We all know it, we can all see it, and that's why we now see Mickey taking adverts like this from the hardware store Robert Dyas.
Hi, my name's Marcus. I work at Robert Dyas and I'm gay. I like going out with my friends and playing volleyball. I also like showing our gay and straight customers a funky range of our Christmas gifts.
Hi, my name is James. I'm straight and I work at Robert Dyas. I like sailing, baking and showing off all our Christmas kitchen gadgets to our gay and straight customers.
Look, I am not saying that I've got a problem with it at all, but what I am saying is that we all know that there's an overrepresentation of ethnic minorities in adverts and TV shows. Look, but people on the left need to stop gaslighting us by pretending that they don't notice, when literally all they do is bang on about race all the time.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just live in credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Let's get our thoughts from our panel. Broadcaster and journalist Carol Malone, Reform Party member, former Tory Party chairman Sir Jake Berry, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth. So, Carol, look, there's a lot of people clutching their pearls there, saying that, oh my God, Sarah Pochin is so racist, companies are just so racist and all this stuff. It is true, though, there is an overrepresentation of ethnic minorities in adverts and in things like theatre productions, etc., isn't it?
If I had a quid for every time someone over the past year has said to me there is an over-representation of black and Asian people on the telly, I'd be a millionaire by now. People are talking about this because it is so obvious. This attack on Pochin today has, it's about what in effect is woke advertising, has been hysterical, even by the standards of the left. I mean, some of the comments today, reform not fit to govern, Farage's silence is deafening. You think she'd murdered somebody. All all she's pointing out is a fact. She did it in a very clumsy way when she said something like, you know, it drives me mad. Stupid thing to say. However, her point remains, and the valid point was that adverts do not accurately reflect our society. And I heard a top advertising boss today saying, you know, quite rightly, there used to be an underrepresentation of black and ethnic minorities on the television. He said, but now they've all overcorrected themselves to a ludicrous degree where it looks stupid. And this is a fact, they have. And he said, and the stupid thing is they did it all at the same time, which is why we noticed as a nation. But this is just the left desperation from a flailing government to try and hit reform in any way they can. So it's gone off to Pochin, especially in the light of the fact there's a massive budget coming. Miliband is still wrecking businesses in our country with these policies, and they should be concentrating on that, not this.
But I've got to say, so it was racist when Sarah Pochin pointed out. And by the way, I acknowledge that the language was clumsy. She acknowledges that, but at the core of the point, she's making a valid point really about overrepresentation in adverts and other aspects of the media, etc. But when someone like Hamza Yusuf or Anas Sarwar stand up and just point that everyone's white, that's fine. Because I thought, like, maybe that's a bit racist.
I'm not sure if... No, I don't know why they've done that. I mean, personally, I just think it's ridiculous, isn't it? But I'm not sure that... You know, Sarah Pochin, she used some clumsy language, I accept that. But as Carol said, this is what people are talking about. This sort of tidal wave of DEI, the diversity and equality and inclusion that's washed over the whole of culture, being rammed down people's throats in a completely unsubtle way. People have noticed and gone, well, you know, hold on, this doesn't reflect reality. And what really annoys me about it is, you know, all of these organisations seem to have endless cash to, I don't know, you know, diversity wash their brands to sort of say, look at us, we're so inclusive. It's going to make anyone more likely to buy a thing of washing up liquid. I mean, the whole thing is just, and it's the tokenism. That's what really, really annoys me. If I was a black person, I'd be really annoyed. Oh, suddenly I should rush out and buy some washing up liquid because the person doing the dishes is black. No, people, that's not how people behave. It's ridiculous.
I mean, there is also, I mean, so when you see things like, for example, I played you a Transport for London anti-sexual assault video there, and a similar offering from Kent County Council. And I think they feel as though they have to have diversity in the advert or in the campaign, so they have to have that in, but they obviously can't have the ethnic minority as the perpetrator of the sexual assault, just in case they get called racist. So what they do is they make sure that the white person is doing the assaulting. And this seems to be like the tried and tested formula now.
Racial profiling.
You know, a few years ago, a friend of mine ruined films and dramas for me because he said the black character will never be the guilty one. They'll never be the person who carries out the crime. And I've yet to see it disproven. So clearly there's a degree of truth. But look, I think what Sarah Pochin said, to say it drives me mad to see black people and Asian people, so many of them on TV, that sounds a lot like racism to me. I think the truth is she said the quiet bit out loud. Now, look, advertisements, campaigns, art, are not documentaries. They're trying to encapsulate a sense of the brand, a sense of the country. You know, there aren't many meerkats or drumming gorillas or moon-faced pigs in Britain, but we still have those on advertising campaigns. So it is incredibly problematic that she is pointing this out.
The context in which Sarah Pochin said that. She didn't. The left are trying to suggest she came out of the blue and started ranting about it. That is not what happened. She was on a radio show. A punter rang in and said this is what he believed. There was overrepresentation, and she was answering his question. She didn't just say it out of the blue. She said it to make a point, to agree with the person who rung it.
In a weird way, Carol, you made a valid point, quite unexpectedly.
In a weird way. Oh, hello.
Because I have never heard anybody say, oh, the thing that drives me mad about Britain is there's too many Asian people advertising pots and pans. People don't care about this. This is the kind of racial obsession that organisations like Reform UK have.
No.
People have noticed it in the past year.
And it doesn't just stop on TV. So I was getting a train recently from Euston Station, and Avanti West Coast, which, by the way, I travel a lot on it, is terrible. If you look at their statistics, I think less than 5% of their trains from between Manchester and London actually arrive on time. Here we go. You got my picture. Well done. So Avanti West Coast have the money to put a pride flag on their train, but they can't make the trains run on time. The most recent train I was on ran out of loo roll. Frankly, I would prefer that you could wipe your backside on a train rather than it was covered in the pride flag. These organisations like Avanti or local authorities doing rainbow flags, claim they got no money, rainbow flags on crossings. People do not want this, Ben.
By the way,
Lammy said today.
Sorry, can I just say the contract for Avanti running that route came up under the last Tory government about 2 years ago, and you gave it back to them. So I'm pretty sure you're to blame.
I opposed it.
The thing is, stupid Lammy said today that our country is better than this. Has he looked around him? Did he see the Muslim mob on Saturday? Does he see the pro-Palestinian marches?
Sorry,
and they're fretting over this.
Are you all saying now that you should have quotas?
No,
that if there are
if
there's more black and Asian people on TV adverts, you should have quotas. The hypocrisy.
Stop. What I'm saying is stop diversity washing. We don't care. Don't put a pride flag on a train. Run the trains on time. Don't patronise. Don't patronise the British people.
So
particularly black and minority ethnic people. Don't patronise them by saying you're going to buy something because we happen to advertise with a black person. It's really offensive.
When people say I don't notice colour, I don't notice the colour of someone's skin. I've heard radio shows all day today. They're lying. They're being as woke as the advertisers are being.
They notice how many white people there are.
Of course,
we're not allowed to notice if there's anyone of any other colour or anything like that there. I mean, the thing that got me for it was not so much about that. It was that we are being just gaslit about, like, oh no, this doesn't happen, when we all know it's true. I invite you to, I pretty much guarantee this is the case, whatever, schools or universities put out prospectuses, more relevant to schools because there's less of an international base at schools or whatever. This happened when I was at school. They would always make sure that on the front of that school's prospectus, it was a white lad, there's an Asian person, a black person, essentially. They would always, no matter what the demographics of that school were, they would always do it because it's a tried and tested marketing.
But what is wrong with that?
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. What I am saying is we all know it happens, right? So to deny it happens is ridiculous.
We're streeting. You mentioned before Anas Siwa in Scotland. When he said what he said about there being too many white officials, West Streeting congratulated him on that, said he was making a very valid point. And yet today he called Sarah Pochin disgusting.
But the fact is, if that's a private school prospectus, ethnic minorities overperform, and there's many of them in private schools, so the private schools probably do look like that. Secondly, even if it is an overwhelmingly white area, what is wrong with having an image like that makes ethnic minority kids feel welcome in their schools?
What I'm saying is we're just being asked to ignore the fact we all know
ignore a truism. Ignore a truism. But also, look, what I also find offensive about these adverts is when was the last time you saw someone with Down syndrome advertising? When was the last time you saw a fat person? When was the last time you saw a disabled person? It just, all of them, whatever the colour they are, who cares? They're all just beautiful people. If we want it to be truly representative, put real British people on, put disabled people on there.
And the data which produced this, which produced this info about the ethnic minorities was also criticised the advertisers for not using disabled people. Correct. Not using elderly.
All right. OK, all right, well, there we go. I mean, look, obviously, it looks like Sarah Pochin is going to survive this particular scandal, but just shows you as well, doesn't it? Trying to do absolutely everything they possibly can. And then I thought fair play, by the way, as well, to Ellie, the rape gang survivor, who called out the media today.
Good.
Desperate to point out Sarah Pochin's quote-unquote racism, but unable to point out the complete cast-iron racism of a predominantly, in some cases, Pakistani men systematically raping white young girls because they were white. But anyway...